Welcome to this press conference jointly organized by WSS, Women Against Sexual Violence and State Repression, and the Campaign for Peace and Justice in Chhattisgarh. We have called this press conference in the context of the recent order by NHRC on the 7th of January, which has a strong indictment of the government of Chhattisgarh and Chhattisgarh police for acts of sexual violence committed against Adivasi women during anti-Maoist operations. We have welcomed this order, all civil society groups have welcomed this order, but at the same time, we are all very aware that this order is only the first very small step in our long struggle for restoring democracy and the rule of law in Chhattisgarh and for ending police raj.
Thank you. As Kalyani said, there's been a long history of sexual assault, rapes, extreme violence against women and against Adivasi villagers more broadly in Chhattisgarh. This is the first time that an FIR has been filed, acted upon. The NHRC has given its findings. But it's extremely hard to get justice in Chhattisgarh for several reasons. One, of course, the police normally refuses to file FIRs. Second, when they do file FIRs, they prevent anybody from investigating, finding out about it. And even after they have found that there is prima facie evidence, Chhattisgarh police then tends to attack whoever has found that, whether it's the CBI or the NHRC. And of course attack any kind of civil society intervention which has enabled this atrocity to come out or to be taken up. So I just wanted to sort of lay out the facts on Tadmetla, which was an incident which happened in 2011, where 3 villages were burnt, 3 women were raped, 3 men were killed, and 3 old people died of starvation. This happened in March 2011 in the villages of Tadmetla, Timmapuram, Morpalli and Phulanpad. And the CBI was asked by the Supreme Court to investigate in 2011, and they finally, after much pressure, gave their report in October 2016. And insofar as the arson goes, the CBI has found that the security forces committed arson in the villages of Tadmetla and Timmapuram. In the cases of the rape, it is extremely shocking that the CBI went 6 months after the rape, the rapes took place in March 2011. The CBI went for the first time to the villages in January 2012, which is 9 months later. They took the sari of the rape victim, which was one of the 2 saris that she had and which had been washed many times. And despite us saying so repeatedly that this was not going to yield any forensic evidence and it should not be at all considered in the case, in their findings they have said that they have reported in the reports that in all these 3 villages, these were the charges of rape and murder that the villagers said had happened. Which exactly corroborated the newspaper reports of that time, the cases that we submitted to court, etc. But in the case of the rape victims, they have said, A, there was no forensic evidence, B, the victims could not identify the accused. Please remember there were over 300 security forces who went in an attack and burnt that village. So to expect a rape victim to identify her accused in the middle of a massive attack is something beyond imagination. And therefore, nothing could be done in terms of recognizing that rape. So in all the cases of rape, they have repeatedly said the victim could not identify, no forensic evidence, cases cannot be taken further. However, they are still investigating the murder cases which took place at that time, except for one murder case where they've got the wrong name from another hamlet. So I'm sorry to say that the CBI investigation has been extremely shoddy, but even that shoddy, and we know what kind of pressure the CBI functions under these days, but even that shoddy investigation, which revealed state complicity in the arson and the attacks, has not been acceptable to the Chhattisgarh police, who immediately after the CBI filed its charge sheet proceeded to burn the effigies. I mean, this is quite unprecedented, the police burning effigies of activists. Usually it's activists burning effigies of other people. So we are happy that the police is innovating new strategies. So they burnt our effigies, 6 people in a coordinated fashion across 7 districts. The police came out from police lines, burnt everybody's effigies. They then proceeded almost immediately. Mr. Kalluri, who is the IG, said that the CBI was lying. And in fact, it's important to remember that in the course of this investigation, the CBI has itself been repeatedly attacked. In one case, they were forced to hide inside a room while the police constables kind of pounded it from outside. They had to be airlifted to a CRPF camp. All of this is on record. Again, they were attacked in 2015 November. And despite all this, the IG said that the CBI is lying, burnt the effigies, attacked Manish Kunjam, who is also a petitioner in this case, is leader of the Adivasi Mahasabha, and soon after filed fake FIRs against some of us who were on a fact-finding team. I'm just going to stop there. And if, I'm sorry, but I haven't got more copies of the Tadmetla. I've created a table of the findings and what actually happened, and we will send that by email.
The Jagdalpur Legal Aid Group is a group of between 2 to 4, depending on which time, 2 to 4 women advocates. And we've been working for Bastar, the Adivasis of Bastar, since 2013. And many of the cases we took up did deal with police atrocities. And for that reason, we have ourselves been targeted over the past year. I'd like to start with, as Nandini has just been telling you all, about the atmosphere of terror that is actually in the villages at this point. In 2016, the police announced something called Mission 2016, which they said was to wipe out all the Naxals from Bastar. I don't know exactly what the Bastar police means by Naxals, because all that has done is really terrorize all the villages. And we've had an unprecedented amount of terror. Well, maybe unprecedented you can't really use in Chhattisgarh anymore. But a lot of terror in the villages over this past year. And Bastar police also celebrated 2016 as a big success for them, because they've killed over 134 people whom they claim are all hardcore Naxals in that year. When we went to the villages, and I mean, we do a lot of these cases, what we are getting the stories, I'm sure there are some cases which must have been genuine, but these 134 include a lot of completely fictitious and false encounters. There are places where we went where people are telling about an 8-year-old child that was killed and whose body has never been found since. This is in February 2016, February 16th, in a village called Andri in Gangalur police station. There are people who are eyewitnesses to the fact that there were young boys who were actually chasing a monkey. One of them had climbed up the tree. When police came, the people who were not in the tree were lucky enough to run away, but the person who had climbed up the tree fell into the hands of the police. He was paraded in those villages for one whole day and then killed and shown as an Naxal, killed in a fierce encounter. There are people. There's a couple who had been for 6 months with the Naxals. The entire village attested that, but that was in 2006. After that, they had of their own come back to the village. They had been living there for a long time, and one day the police comes over there, takes away those the couple, the young couple, saying that they're going to get them surrendered and the family will get an award, and the family has to come to the Thana and the next day to get an award. When the family gets there the next day, they find that their children have been killed and shown as again, a 6 lakh ka inami Naxali dampati. These have been some of the cases that we've been dealing with, and this has led to a lot of police backlash, which is what I'm telling you about. In 2016, while we were dealing with some of these cases and the rape cases that Kalyani talked about, we were forced to evict our premises in Jagdalpur. The police, they kidnapped our landlord, who was a taxi driver per profession, and they basically told him that they'll impound his taxi unless he evicts us. And so within a matter of 2 days, we had to pack up all our stuff and leave from there. We thought that's fine. If we can't live in Bastar, we can still work in Bastar. So since then, we've still been going back even though it's been very difficult, but we've been trying to go back and work in Bastar. This December, PUCL, as all of you know, is the largest human rights body in the country. There was a national convention in Raipur on 16th through 18th December, and we decided amongst all the delegates of PUCL who were in Raipur that we are so close to Bastar, so much is happening over there. Let's go down, some of us who can, let's go down there and look at what is happening. So that very impromptu decision that was taken in that meeting ended in a small meeting held in Dantewada on December 19th, right after the PUCL convention. That meeting was very good. There were 25 to 30 delegates from around the country from PUCL and other organizations who could actually meet and talk to villagers. There were some 100-odd villagers that had come and hear their stories. But the very fact that such a meeting took place in Dantewada seems to have really triggered the police in the wrong direction. They got really upset, and since then there has been a complete clampdown of all activists entering Bastar. The people from that PUCL convention themselves, they were harassed when they tried to leave the area. There was a case of an encounter that had taken place that came to light at that meeting, and it was decided that it would be followed up. We followed up on that case. We took that case to the High Court. We got an order, it was a very unusual order from the High Court for an exhumation and post-mortem in that case. On Christmas Day, we are back in Bastar, following up on the High Court order when our team is again harassed by police. The place we are living, the dharamshala we are living in, which has been given to us by the divisional commissioner, there was a circuit house was unavailable. We were there on official purposes for the post-mortem of the body, so he made arrangements for us to stay in a dharamshala. We're staying over there. The Bastar police comes and insists that we're staying there in an unauthorized manner. They want to search our bags and throw us out of there and take us to the Thana and interrogate with us. We resist and we say we're not here in an unauthorized way. This has been given to us by the divisional commissioner himself. They're extremely combative and belligerent, but thankfully we could get the divisional commissioner that day on phone. He placated them and said no, he was the one who's given us that room to stay. So we managed to ward off the police that day. Next day we're back in Bilaspur. We get a call from the SP of Bastar himself, alleging that in that dharamshala the night before, we were actually exchanging demonetized notes for the Naxals. And then he says there's actually a complaint about that, and within hours of his call, the complaint is circulated all over the social media that we, the great human rights lawyers, are exchanging demonetized currency. I must say that we were very lucky that we managed to get out of Bastar, because the Telangana people, as you must know, there's a team of 7 people, they have the exact same charges against them, but they were actually arrested and they're still in jail as we speak. So while we managed to not allow the police to come in to a dharamshala room and get out of there, got the divisional commissioner on phone, they were simply not as lucky, and they are unfortunately, I'm hoping that one of the representatives will come and speak today. Now, not only is this going on, the Bastar police has gone ahead and announced something called Mission 2017, Mission White Collar, where they're saying that the white collar Naxals are now going to be targeted, who are more dangerous to them than Naxals themselves. And who are the white collar the Safed Posh Naxal unko bol rahe hain? Who are the white collar Naxalites? As they say in their pronouncements, that the fact-finding teams, that the legal aid lawyers, these are all these human rights organizations like PUCL, we are the white collar Naxals who they're going to be targeting in 2017. So with that, I'll stop over here.
मैं गुजरात 2002 में भी गया था. ये वहाँ से भीषण स्थितियाँ हम बस्तर में देख करके आए. एक अलग तरह का, यानी मूवमेंट को रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर देना इस तरह से और किसी भी तरह की आवाज़ को दबा देना. बहरहाल ये तो खैर हम लोगों ने आने के बाद ही, क्योंकि हम लोग वहाँ जितने गाँव में गए थे, मैं आपको, मेरे पास उस वक्त के नोट्स भी हैं, जितने गाँव में गए थे हम, वहाँ पर लगभग हमको दोनों तरह की बातें लोगों ने बताई, क्योंकि हम आम लोगों से बात कर रहे थे। उन्हें किस तरह की परेशानियां पुलिस कैंपों के चलते हो रही थी और किस तरह के कुछ गांवों के भीतर ऐसी घटनाएं हुई थी जहां नक्सलवादियों ने गांव वालों को परेशान किया था, उन पर मुखबिर होने का इल्ज़ाम लगा करके उनको प्रताड़ित किया था। तो उन दोनों ही पहलुओं को हमने अपनी रिपोर्ट के भीतर आते साथ रखा था। लेकिन जैसा नंदिनी ने बताया कि हम लोगों की रिपोर्ट रिलीज़ हमने सुबह की है और शाम के वक्त तक ये खबर आने लगी कि हमारे खिलाफ वहाँ पर प्रदर्शन प्रायोजित करवाए जाने लगे पूरे छत्तीसगढ़ के अंदर। और उसके भी वीडियोस आए कि जिस तरह से उन्होंने जो उस वक्त शिकायत दर्ज की थी। ये एक दिलचस्प बात आप लोगों को शायद याद होगी कि कलेक्टर महोदय ने, सुकमा ज़िले के कलेक्टर ने उस शिकायत को अपने फेसबुक पेज पर डाला था। क्या वो हर तरह की शिकायत को फेसबुक पेज पर डालते हैं? और करीब 30 लोगों ने, बस्तर कलेक्टर, और करीब 30 लोगों के उसमें शिकायत में हस्ताक्षर थे, जिनमें से बहुत सारे हस्ताक्षर अंग्रेजी में भी किए गए थे। जिन इलाकों के भीतर हम गए थे वहाँ 40 किलोमीटर का फासला तय करने में हमको लगभग 4 घंटे तक लगे। हमको पेड़ भी हटाने पड़े, नेशनल पार्क के भीतर का इलाका था, हमें गांव वालों से मदद भी लेनी पड़ी, रास्ते साफ नहीं। वहाँ अंदर आधे से ज़्यादा लोग जो है अंग्रेजी में दस्तखत कर रहे थे, उसकी भी कोई जांच पड़ताल नहीं की आज तक। केवल उस शिकायत को इन्होंने हमको धमकाने के तौर पर दर्ज करके रखा। उसके बाद में हाल में लगभग 6 महीने के बाद में हमने 7 नवंबर को सुना कि हमारे खिलाफ वहाँ ये FIR दर्ज कर दी गई है कि श्यामनाथ बघेल की हत्या हुई है। और उसमें मैं खुद भी एक पत्रकार रहा हूँ और हमारे पत्रकार साथियों ने ही ये हौसला दिखाया कि तुरंत जाकर के उन्होंने वहाँ पर श्यामनाथ बघेल की पत्नी के साथ में बातचीत की, जिसने कि ये साफ इनकार कर दिया। आइए जिन्होंने ये साफ इनकार कर दिया कि उन्होंने हम लोगों का नाम नहीं दिया है, लेकिन उसके FIR के भीतर हम लोगों का नाम जिस तरह से दर्ज किया गया है, अगर आप FIR को भी पढ़ें तो ये साफ जाहिर होता है कि वो बार बार जिस तरह से इन 6 नामों को दोहराया गया है, वो 6 नाम इरादतन उसके अंदर डाले गए। ये इस मामले में सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने एक हम लोगों के लिए जो 15 तारीख को ऑर्डर दिया, उस ऑर्डर के भीतर छत्तीसगढ़ पुलिस ने पहले ही ये विड्रॉ कर लिया कि हम अभी इस मामले में आगे नहीं बढ़ना चाहते, इसलिए उस पर कोई सुनवाई ना की जाए। तो आप बाद में आगे बढ़ना चाहेंगे तो खैर उसमें हमको सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने ये एक सुरक्षा दी हुई है कि अगर आप बाद में आगे बढ़ना चाहेंगे तो 1 महीने का नोटिस इन 6 लोगों को देना होगा और आप इनके खिलाफ कोई इन्वेस्टिगेशन या इंटरोगेशन नहीं कर सकते। ये सुरक्षाएं अपनी जगह हैं और हम सब लोगों के लिए उसका एक महत्व है। लेकिन वहाँ पर जो स्थितियाँ थीं, जिस दिन हम लोग उस बस्तर के इलाके के भीतर दाखिल हुए हैं, उसी दिन मई में हमको 2 फेक एनकाउंटर्स सामने मिले, जो हाँ बच्चों को लेकर के उनके पूरे गांव के लोग, जिसमें कोई एक पार्टी विशेष के नहीं, पूरे गांव के लोग आए हुए थे। और मनीष कुंजाम ने और हम लोगों ने वहाँ पर प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस ली और वहाँ पर प्रेस के लोगों ने हमसे कहा कि स्थानीय छोटी जगह है, तो उन्होंने कहा ये सब बातें हम लोग जानते हैं दादा, लेकिन जो हम अगर छाप देंगे ये सब अखबार में तो कल हमारा भी ऐसे ही एनकाउंटर हो जाएगा। और फिर उन्होंने ये भी बताया कि 4 पत्रकार वहाँ इस तरह से जेल के अंदर पहले से इसी तरह की सजा भुगत रहे। जो पुलिस का हाल है, जिस तरह से मेरे ख्याल से जो नोट सर्कुलेट किया था उसमें तो ये लिखा था कि हर 5 किलोमीटर पर एक पुलिस कैंप, ये शायद एवरेज हो सकता है, लेकिन जिस इलाके में हम लोग घूमे हैं वहाँ पर कई हिस्सों में 1-1 किलोमीटर के अंदर 2-2 कैंप हमें देखने को मिले। और एक कैंप का मतलब वो कोई इस तरह का कैंप नहीं है कि NCC के बच्चों का कैंप लगाओ। वो कैंप जहाँ पर कि बाकायदा वो जरह बख्तर के साथ में लोग तैयार हैं गोली से उड़ा देने के लिए, और वो कैंप किस तरह से लगाए जा रहे हैं ये भी एक अपने आप में सवाल है। आप उनकी ज़मीन पर खड़ी फसल पर कब्जा कर लेते हैं रात में जाकर के गाँव वालों की, और वहाँ पर कैंप बना देते हैं। सुबह उठ करके वो जाते हैं और देखते हैं कैंप। उसके अलावा हमको रेप के केसेस मिले, जहाँ पर कि पुलिस के बनाए हुए SPOs ने रेप का कारनामा किया है और उसको बचाने की सारी कोशिश की जा रही है। वो जिसने रेप किया वो पूरी बदमाशी के साथ में आकर के गांव वालों को ये कहता है कि चूंकि हम बस्तर पुलिस के लोग हैं इसलिए हमें ये सब करने की इजाज़त है। और मेरे ख्याल से इसमें कुछ और ख़ास तौर से ये कि हम जब जिस इलाकों के भीतर गए और हम लोग वाकई में उस एक चीज़ को केंद्र में रख करके गए थे कि वहाँ के लोगों की सामाजिक आर्थिक स्थिति क्या है। 200 रुपये तेंदुपत्ते की तुड़ाई का उनका रेट मिलता है सैकड़ा का, जिसमें 150 रुपये शासन देता है, 50 रुपये लोग देते हैं। नरेगा का पैसा हमको अधिकतर जगहों से रिपोर्ट हुआ, मैं आपको गाँव के नाम के साथ बता सकता हूँ, 2008-9 से लेकर के नहीं मिला है। इन सब चीज़ों पर अगर लोग किसी भी तरह का आंदोलन करने की कोशिश करते हैं तो उन सबको नक्सल कह सकते हैं। ये वहाँ ट्रेंड है। आप अपनी ज़मीन पर पुलिस वालों को, अपने घर के भीतर पुलिस के जातियों को रोकने की कोशिश करेंगे, अपनी महिलाओं को पुलिस के लोगों की हवस का शिकार बनाने से बचाने की कोशिश करेंगे। इन सब परिस्थितियों में आपको नक्सल करार दिया जा सकता है और मारा जा सकता है। और बाहर से अगर कोई भी जाने की कोशिश करे तो उसको इस तरह से घेराबंदी और रोकने की कोशिश की जाती है जैसा कि आप लोग देख रहे हैं। मैं तो आह्वान करता हूं कि सारी प्रेस को और जो इस सच्चाई को जानना चाहते हैं उन सबको वहां जाना चाहिए। शुक्रिया।
In Bastar, sexual violence is being used as a weapon of war. It is not some outburst by the police who come to that place. They are not random incidents. They are extremely planned, extremely structured, and they are being used to attack and silence Adivasi communities. Rinchin.
I think like Kalyani said, I'd like to start with two things. One, that this NHRC order at least validates the claims of the fact-finding teams and also of the women who've been very bravely, who have stood up in such a difficult condition and have fought really hard to even get FIRs registered. And like it was said before, this is the first time that an FIR has been registered in 3 cases against security forces. The unfortunate thing is that nothing has gone forward on it. But the fact that these women have been making an effort not just for the first time, but continuously come to thanas, give their testimonies, which have been several and numerous, the number of teams that have come and met with them, the official teams. And when we first went to Bastar and we encountered this first case, it was horrific. The number of women that have suffered, the kind of systematic way in which it has been allowed to happen. A whole village being cordoned off in the name of search operation, people going into houses, stripping women, playing with them in the sense that using them as entertainment, and also using the threat constantly of sexual harassment to have them surrender or to have them give names of people that they feel that would be helping Naxals. Also, the fact that this is being used to break down any resistance that people offer when troops come in, and it's not just sexual violence, but it's completely terrorizing a whole village by whether it's chicken, whether it's grains that people keep, and it is a very basic life that people live there. So overturning 2 quintals of rice or taking away 10 chickens or taking away 300 rupees from a house is completely destroying that household's existence. And this is the way in which the troops have been behaving. What we heard was women having to prove that they were lactating mothers and not Naxalites by squeezing their breasts. This was something that we have heard repeatedly in different visits that teams have made there, that when women say कि हमें जाने दो हमारे बच्चे, हम नक्सली नहीं हैं क्योंकि हमारे तो घर में दूध पीते बच्चे हैं, तो उनके ब्रेस्ट को उनको बोलते हैं कि फिर अपने ब्रेस्ट से दूध निकाल के दिखाओ, या उनके कपड़े उतार के उनको बोलना कि अब तुम जाके अपनी सरकार से जाके बोलो कि वो तुमको बचाए. Pregnant women have been 3-4 people have taken off their clothes and taken a pregnant woman and put her in water and then dunked her several times before raping her. A young 13-year-old child was raped so much that she passed out, and it was the other women that brought her back home. And these people have had the courage and strength to come and file FIRs, to come under repeated scrutiny. And what is, in one sense, their ordeal still continues. They have to come to court. They have to pass several thanas to come to court. But the fact that the various teams that have gone there have validated the claims of the women, the accusations, and what the women are saying as being true. The SC/ST commission that went there has come out with a report that says that this has happened. The names of the villages are there. I'll just repeat them. Pedagelur, then there was an incident in Kunna, then there was an incident in Belamnendra, and then Korcholi. All these incidents have happened one after the other, and the fact that the first FIR was registered in November, and then other incidents happened under the same thana and in the same area in January, later on in May, shows that the fact that the action wasn't taken led to these incidents happening again. Had action been taken on the first case that came out and the FIR that was filed, maybe we could have saved those women from going through the same ordeal. So I think that is something that now after the NHRC report also, the onus is on the state, the central government, and all governments to make sure that action is taken. And I think Vrinda can also stress on the fact that we are also looking not just for compensation or not just for some mass guilt of people sitting here, but actually criminal investigation and command responsibility so that these incidents don't happen again. And also the fact that all of us need to now support the fight of these women, because the case will go on in court. The third thing that I want to stress on is that if these stories are planted, and if these various teams that are going there are plants, then they'll have to start talking about NHRC and the SC/ST Commission and the Women's Commission of Chhattisgarh, all of who went there and all of who have said that prima facie the claims are true. And why is the Bastar police so scared? And if it is why is the Bastar police so scared? How can you cordon off an area and not let teams go? Letting people go in, letting people investigate will only allow the police for better functioning, because if they are saying that they they are the ones who have to follow law. And every team that's going in, we go in with, after speaking to the collector, giving information to the SP, and every time the women have come back, we have brought them to the collector and SP, and they have not been able to deny the claims. So that is a question, and also that then more and more of us need to go in. We cannot let the Bastar police by their heckling and by their harassment stop us back. We all need to be there, and we need the support of everyone constantly to be there.
I just want us to think that what is it that all of them have pointed towards? What is it that they were trying to do when they went to Chhattisgarh? To my right and to my left are people who have had a reason to visit Chhattisgarh. Because of them, we know certain things. And they are all today being implicated in very, very serious criminal cases. If we were to look at this in a larger context, we talk about rule of law in this country. We talk about imposition of a president's rule in a state where there is a breakdown of constitutional machinery. I am not suggesting imposition of president's rule here at all. I am only saying that what are the parameters that are used through the constitution, through the law, to say what is happening in some part of the country. From the accounts that we have heard here, is there even a semblance of any constitutional machinery or rule of law in place? Who is it that is today saying, not once, for many years almost now, repeatedly, that let there be rule of law in Bastar in particular? It is not the police of Bastar, it is not the administration of Bastar, it is not the state of Chhattisgarh, it is the people of Bastar, and it is academics, journalists, lawyers, activists who are repeatedly reminding us and the state institutions that there is a very, very grievous assault on the rights of people and on basic rule of law machinery. They've also explained to us why this is happening. It is not, as Kalyani mentioned just now, it is not one. That particular police officer has certainly taken it to a different level, but cannot be operating with this brazen impunity without the blessings of the state and the central government, which he himself, I'm sure if you will Google, you will see his proximity to the political leadership both in the center and the state. These issues have been brought to the attention of all institutions in this country, particularly institutions that have the power and the authority to intervene, the Supreme Court of India and the National Human Rights Commission, who have both indicted in different ways and at different times, not once but repeatedly, through material that they have considered and not on the basis of any fact-finding report. I would, however, want to say here that intervention, whether of the Supreme Court of India or of the NHRC, not only has it been much delayed, but perhaps it needs to be way more decisive, because it is not leading to this assault on the rights of people there at all being curtailed. Anybody who goes there comes back with a lot of evidence, whether it is of sexual assault or of extrajudicial killings, torture and illegal detention, perhaps so much that people are not even foregrounding that repeatedly, and a whole lot of other issues that are arising when search and cordon operations are taking place. There is an anti-Maoist operation, it's been there for some time, it was there in the earlier government also. So does an anti-Maoist operation in India mean that they then can do anything and everything? Because that is what is happening. There is no confusion from the reports that have come out. So will there be absolutely no check on the abuse of power by the security forces? We have seen this in other parts of the country which were declared disturbed areas, which we are told we should not even utter or talk about the violations there. Now it is happening in the heart of the country. And if we are going to keep quiet again, and the whole attempt is only and only to not allow those violations to come out, there is no other purpose. There are, however, people who continue to draw our attention, and I think institutions need to intervene way more decisively and urgently. The NHRC,
I just want to come in. When they have intervened, the Supreme Court, the Chhattisgarh government is in repeated contempt of the Supreme Court. There is complete impunity. The NHRC has summoned Kalluri, he is refusing to come.
And the Chief Secretary.
And the Chief Secretary has also refused to come. So actually it's beyond the Constitution. It is a state of emergency.
In the NHRC's latest press release, which Rinchin also referred to, they hold the state of Chhattisgarh vicariously liable. They are not saying this is one errant, aberrant officer who is committing these aberrations. They themselves are saying this is systematic. The manner in which assaults are taking place on life and on other rights of people over there. Savithri mentioned to us that that the judiciary is also talking about permission to visit Chhattisgarh. Has Chhattisgarh seceded from the Union of India? There are this is a political discussion can be held on that. If it has not seceded, then I, as a citizen of India, have a right, a fundamental right to travel in any part of this country, as do people within Chhattisgarh have a fundamental right to travel within their own state or anywhere else. These are very, very sacred liberties. And I fear what is happening is that in the name of various national security, of course, being one of the prominent paradigms through which we are terrorized constantly, we are ceding liberties. And if a district judge or a sessions court judge or a magistrate ask that have you taken permission. It should send alarm bells ringing through the system that is the judiciary losing the focus, that the fight or on the anti-Maoist operations is the role of the executive. The role of the judiciary is to ensure that the rights of people are protected in all circumstances. And if this kind of overwhelming discourse is creating a mindset where we are not asking the relevant questions, where the judiciary is asking questions which are actually again unconstitutional in nature, then that is a very, very serious situation where clearly we are on a slippery slope. CSPSA, the use of CSPSA, as Savithri has very clearly explained to us, what really is the purpose of this and what are the kinds of people who have been implicated in this. I want to also link it to the whole demonetization issue. It's an issue of public debate and discussion. There are reports coming out almost on a daily basis of the economic impact of demonetization. These are issues on which there will be a national debate, both amongst economists and otherwise, and what has happened, what has been the impact on people's lives. One of the criteria or one of the justifications given by the government for demonetization is that this will help in the fight against terrorism. Now, with the entire money having been laundered through the government's own initiative and back in the banks, and there is not a single instance where they can show that terrorism has been impacted. Implication of people from the Telangana civil liberties groups, attempts to frame and implicate advocate Shalini Gera are also part of a national strategy to justify a failed economic initiative. These things are all interlinked in what is happening in our midst today. I would only say to you, when issues of sexual violence are raised, and if some incident, and they continue to happen with alarming regularity, if it happens in Delhi, this press conference hall would have been crowded and everybody would have reported it on their front page. Here is an NHRC order saying, yes, what you have said of mass sexual violence by security forces and police of this country, and they are saying there are many more, and we are still recording their statements. It doesn't grab the attention of the media to the extent that it should. We are grateful for friends who have come here. It definitely does not interest anybody in the political landscape. It does not interest, the NCW is not jumping up and down saying what is happening in this country. There is a provision that was introduced in the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013 which talks specifically about rape by the armed forces. It was introduced because it is a fact of what is happening in this country. If accountability is not sought, this impunity will continue. As many have said here, the state authorities, the state functionaries are brazenly in contempt of all orders of all institutions. So clearly the efforts on our part will also have to be much greater, as will it have to be on part of institutions to decisively and promptly intervene. Yes, it is, the Adivasis are perhaps amongst the poorest, the most vulnerable and marginalized in this country, and what happens with their lives, whether it matters or it doesn't matter in the growth story of India, is something that you and I will have to really take a call on. It's not something that the people sitting in Parliament are going to deal with.